Hey, good afternoon. This unit is titled Modeling and Macroinvertebrates, and completing this unit should take approximately 10 class sessions. The authors of this unit lesson plan are Michelle Lynch, myself, Erica Taylor Wilson, and Miss Jennifer Smith. This lesson can be a science and math lesson on the middle school levels. In order to complete this lesson, you'll need water samples or water sample worksheets if you don't have water samples available, microscopes if you're using the actual water samples, computers for research, and you'll need optional items for the modeling portion of the lesson. The students will be given a $100 stipend to purchase materials for their project. Some of these materials include plastic, paint, or aluminum trays, aluminum foil or wax paper, plastic materials that can be cut and used for your model, styrofoam or cardboard, tape, paper, sand, rocks, soil, rocks, plant material, a light source, a spray bottle, and water. And of course, we'll need student worksheets to complete the lesson. This lesson covers the next generation science standards, the MSLS 2-4, MSLS 2-5, MSETS 1-1, MSETS 1-2. Also, this can be a multidisciplinary lesson that includes both math standards and English standards that are listed in the lesson plan. The objective of the lesson, the students will be able to determine the health of a stream by analyzing macroinvertebrates, and also they'll be able to design a model to demonstrate a healthy watershed. Our career connection, I was the level 2 person in the group, and the mentor I worked with, I initially worked with Dr. Audrey Harrison. She worked in the lab that I worked at, and she's a research entomologist in the aquatic ecology and invasive species branch within the environmental laboratory at ERDIC. Audrey is an entomologist that works with both terrestrial and aquatic insect assemblages. Her current research focuses on areas in the large river macroinvertebrate community. She looks at their dynamics, how we can restore the large woody debris habitats, insect fish food web interactions, stream entomology, and pollinator surveys. Audrey completed her education. She received her bachelor's degree at Mississippi College in Clinton, Mississippi. She received her master's at Clemson University, and she received her doctorate at Ole Miss or University of Mississippi in Oxford, Mississippi. Samantha Weiss is an environmental engineer with the ERDIC Environmental Lab, and she recently received her engineer's intern license, and she graduated from Oregon State with a BS in ecological engineering. The career connections that we have are entomologists, environmental scientists, and environmental engineering.
Okay, under the engagement section of this lesson, students will work in small groups to identify macroinvertebrate given samples. This is a one class period portion. And first, the students will be given pictures of macroinvertebrate that they'll make lists of things that they notice about the creatures and things they wonder. And then the teacher will give them a second macroinvertebrate picture that they'll compare to the first picture and try to note the differences between the organisms. And then finally, the students will work in small groups and will be given a sample that they'll need to identify given keys. And then under the exploration phase of this lesson, it's also a one class period. This is where students will learn about why macroinvertebrates are used to determine stream health. The teacher will begin the lesson by having the students brainstorm their thoughts about the connections between macroinvertebrate and the water. They will also be given a math worksheet, which will have them analyzing some statistical information about the Mississippi watershed area and creatures in it. That will help them also start to understand how macroinvertebrates are important. And then they will also watch a video about macroinvertebrates and why they're used to determine stream health. And they'll be asked to write one question and one observation from that video. All right.
So then after students have had an opportunity to kind of learn more about what macroinvertebrates are and how they can help determine the water quality health of an area, they'll move into the explain section where they really start to explain and tie that information together. So in this part of the lesson, students are going to use a biomonitoring data worksheet similar to what researchers are using in the lab to examine the sample that they have, either the sample they got from water or we've made template samples for students. They're going to look through those samples, count the different types of macroinvertebrates, and then do some math to figure out the water quality health of that area. After they've worked on that, then they're going to move into the elaborate section. And this is the longest section of our lesson. It takes about 6 different class periods because students are actually going to be engineering. So they're going to be given a challenge to restore part of a watershed area along the Mississippi after a visitor center has been built. And so students will need to think about their macroinvertebrates, the health of the water that their macroinvertebrates need, and what they should do to help restore that area based on their understanding of the things that impact water quality and the health of an ecosystem. And so we have a series of worksheets that go along with a series of student pages because students are going to actually be engineering their environment. So they're going to have criteria and constraints that they're going to need to make sure that they adhere to. And they will have a budget, as Erica mentioned. So they'll follow their budget, they'll come up with a prototype design, they will build their design, then they will test their design, and then they'll figure out what went well and what didn't. They'll redesign and retest. Now, this is one area because it's a very long part of our lesson. The teachers, if they don't have time, they can modify different aspects of this to help fit their time schedule. So after the students have completed that, then they're going to move into the evaluate session. And this is just one class period of 40 minutes where the students are explaining what they understand about macroinvertebrates, the macroinvertebrates that they studied, how they are water quality indicators, and then they're explaining their models that they created. So a brief video, we have rubrics in here that teachers can use also to kind of evaluate the students' understanding and their video. And then we have our resources section and references down here at the bottom, so teachers can learn more.